24 hours a day.
Our big problem at the moment in the UK as we advance our renewable generation resources is that we encounter periods when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. And at the moment we're turning on the gas plants and sometimes turning on all the coal plants as well, which defeats the whole purpose of renewable energy if that's what you have to do. So we need to come up with ways, zero carbon or low carbon ways of complementing renewables to provide the security of supply and the assurance of supply and the higher security that a country such as the UK needs.
There have been protests in the past over the safety of nuclear power production on Anglesey, concerns highlighted by global crises, including the Fukushima disaster. But the World Nuclear Association claims the benefits still outweigh the perceived risks.
When you look at the statistics in terms of how well nuclear plants are operated, and put it particularly in context with the huge threat there is not only from climate change, which is to which coal, gas and oil power stations have a large responsibility, but also the air pollution that they create as well. These have very harmful impacts on people's health around the world. So it's not climate change that might be beginning to happen now and is a threat really for the coming decades. There's a threat from air pollution from fossil fuel power generation that is very present and has had a historic effect.
Another plan to build one of the world's biggest tidal energy projects has ruffled some feathers. South Stack, an island off Anglesey's northwest coast, is a popular destination for birdwatchers. The Royal Society for the Protection of Birds says the installation of turbines to harness energy from the waters below could lead to swathes of guillemot and razorbill populations here being lost. The developer, Menter Mon, says a phased approach will be taken, deploying turbines slowly and monitoring any impacts they may have on bird colonies in the area. The initiative has the support of the Anglesey County Council too, which wants to promote the area where unemployment is high as an energy island.
Here in the port we had a large marine yard which used to employ about 500 people. That's all gone years ago. So traditional employment now no longer seems to exist, and there are resale jobs here, but you do need a mix as well. So we're trying to attract industry, new exciting industry for the future, to come to Anglesey, and we welcome it with open arms. Please come here, please invest in Anglesey, create high-tech jobs which are needed.
The UK government's pledge to bring all greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050 is more than an environmental target. Hopes are being pinned on green industries such as those in Anglesey to provide a launchpad for future job creation and growth.
Breaking news.
Chanting for Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha to step down.
We will be seeing sporadic protests flare up from time and time again.
Key developments.
37th ASEAN Summit.
Live events. Analysis and perspectives.
We will really be seeing vaccines soon.
Imports, which were expected to grow slightly, contracted 2.1%.
News that matters. Asia Now, daily. On CNA.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Sponsored by Qatar Airways.
This is Asia Now.
It's 8 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 5:30 in New Delhi and 7 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Shahida Othman. At this hour, let the games begin. Amid the shadow of the pandemic, the delayed Summer Olympics gets underway in Tokyo, Japan. Deadly floods hit India and China, Maharashtra and Henan reel as heavy rains trigger a deluge that's claimed lives and caused millions in damage. No climate deal. G20 nations meeting in Rome failed to agree on goals to cut greenhouse gases as the clock ticks down to the broader UN climate talks in November. The Tokyo Olympics has officially gotten underway. Now overshadowed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Games kicked off with a no-frills opening ceremony. A stadium with near-empty stands greeted the world's top athletes, a solemn reminder that the battle against the coronavirus is far from over. Michio Ishida with the details.
The Olympic Games are on after a year of delay. It's the biggest ever in terms of the number of competitions and venues. The new National Stadium, for instance, was built for the 2020 Games, replacing the one built for the 1964 Olympics. The opening ceremony turned out to be very different from the kind we know, to focus on safety at a time of COVID-19 pandemic. But the main purpose of Tokyo 2020 was drawn attention to. It's the recovery and reconstruction of the Tohoku region, or northeast Japan, hit by the magnitude 9 earthquake triggering huge tsunamis and a nuclear meltdown. A tribute was paid to healthcare workers worldwide dealing with the pandemic. Athletes were limited to those who are about to have competitions. Organizers have been focusing on safe distancing. As to how the Japanese public feel, some months ago, there were strong opposition towards the hosting of the Tokyo Games, or about 80% against, according to media polls. But today you see many are gathering across the street of the Olympic Stadium, trying to catch the ambience of the opening ceremony. It's ironic that such gathering is allowed when most stadiums are not allowing fans, and public viewing sites or fan zones have been cancelled. Whereas on the other side of the stadiums are protesters trying to stop the Olympics. It's as COVID-19 pandemic continues to spread in Tokyo. Daily cases are continuing to exceed 1,000. We hear healthcare workers are worried hospitals will be overwhelmed. With the Olympics on, we hope for the safety of everyone in this state of the pandemic. Michio Ishida, CNA, Tokyo.
Now, Indian authorities have issued a red alert for 6 regions in the state of Maharashtra as they expect torrential rains to continue for the next few days. Now, more than 100 people have died there due to landslides and flooding. This is the heaviest downpour for July in some 40 years.
20-25 फुट पानी इतना नहीं भरता कभी भी फर्स्ट टाइम इतना पानी भरा हुआ है.
Some areas received up to 600 millimeters of rainfall over a 24-hour period. Weather officials attribute such frequency and intensity to climate change. Other states have not been spared. A landslide derailed 2 trains in Goa. In Karnataka and Telangana, some rivers are overflowing. And in Maharashtra itself, authorities released water from dams that are threatening to overflow. Several people are feared trapped after landslides flattened houses in 2 areas. Officials say there's no electricity and drinking water in hundreds of villages and towns. Helicopters are being used to evacuate people in some flooded regions. Now, over in China, a massive effort is underway in Henan province to help those stranded and displaced by floods that have so far left 56 people dead. Tens of thousands of rescue workers, including the military, have been deployed across the province to assist in recovery and relief operations. The rain and floods wreaked chaos across Henan, affecting millions, some of whom were trapped for days without fresh food or water.